Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Average Football Talk, the most average football talk show ever. Anthony Miller here, and I got another episode for you guys. No, been out for a little bit, but wanted to get back into it. Um, Kind of thought today was appropriate just because of the big CFL news. So I thought that would be a good topic to kind of talk about today and just kind of see if Canada's still standing or if the CFL fans have burned it down yet. So just eager and interested to see how the fans are reacting to the big news today from Stuart Johnson, the commissioner of the CFL, where he announced some rule changes into the league that will be starting next year and will be dipping into 2027. So I got the rule changes, so I thought I might kind of go into some of those changes for this episode and see what they will be bringing. So it's going to be done in two different phases. So Johnson brought up that there's going to be a couple rule changes in 2026. That's going to be more about like rules in general with it, and in 2027, it's going to be more about adapting the field, adapting, to some of the in-stadium stuff that's in it. So to get the team some transition period to get everything organized in the next couple years. So the rule changes coming up for next year. One is going to be the modified Rouge rule. So according to what the league had said, I'm going to kind of copy what they say here on their email. So the rules will no longer include a single point for a missed field goal attempt that goes wide of the goalpost. A point will also not be rewarded when a punt or kickoff sails through or rolls out into the back or the sides or of the end zone without being touched by a returner. If a punt, field goal, or kickoff settles in the end zone, and the returner fails to take it out or takes a knee, a single point will still be rewarded. The change eliminates games being decided by a missed field goal, punt, or kickoff through the end zone. The modified rules, in conjunction with the repositioned goalposts and the shortened field to be instituted in 2027, will encourage more aggressive play calling on third downs, given the threat of the return game or the possibility of yielding favorable field position of the ensuring drive. So I hate the Rouge rule in terms of how it affects field goals. I'm actually okay with the Rouge rule when it comes down to punting because I think it makes a lot more sense to reward the punters if they don't allow a return. Um, I thought last year with the Saskatchewan Roughriders and Toronto Argonauts game where it literally ended on the Rouge rule kicking in and no, the missed field goal for the win. I thought that was absolute BS. And I agree with Johnson on this aspect that a kicker should not be rewarded for not doing his job and still getting a point. I just think that's absolute BS. So I'm actually really glad they went into that rule and changed it. Um, this makes a ton of sense. I mean, the rules rule should stay into place, but to have it modified the way it is, I think it makes a ton of sense. So it sounds like as long as the player doesn't leave the end zone with the ball on the opposing team, or they kneel down the end zone, then they're conceding the 1 point. That makes a lot of sense. So ultimately, I think this was a good change for the CFL, and I think it's going to make a really good impact on the game. So the other rule change that's coming in 2026 will be opposite field team benches and the 35-second play clocks. So all teams will be required to have their bench areas on opposite sides of the field, eliminating cases where some players are required to run 50, 60 yards for substitutions. Some stadiums currently feature benches on opposite stadiums, while others are side by side. To improve game flow and consistency, a new 35-second play clock will automatically begin as soon as the previous play is whistled down. Currently, the 20-second play clock does not start until manually instituted by an official. The change eliminates inconsistencies in timing caused by teams getting set at their own pace, varying times taken to set yardage markers, and more. The revised play clock also instills a sense of urgency in players to progress the game and continue to drive in a timely fashion. Again, I feel like this one also makes a ton of sense. We see it in the American game all the time with the benches being on opposite sides. I think that makes a ton of sense. I know Johnson talked about, like, he said he literally saw a player try to run 50, 60 yards down the field just to get out of bounds and get back to his side of the bench with it being side by side. That one just, I don't know, just has never made sense. I think it's kind of weird. I feel like most sports are opposite sides. I know like tennis, I think, is on the same side. Volleyball could be same side as times as well. But for football, I think it just makes a ton of sense to be on the opposite side. Also, I think it kind of eliminates any issues in terms of like if there's a grudge match or, players getting angry at each other and they end up fighting, like you don't want them to be side by side either. So honestly, that makes a lot of sense. Play clock also makes sense as well. Um, it should speed up the game a little bit, make it more efficient. So, yeah, I feel like these rules that are changing for next year is just more modernizing the game and just making it quicker and making it a better on product field for the CFL. So totally makes a ton of sense. So honestly, no arguments so far. The big ones are really coming in 2027, and it all involves what's going to happen with the field. So the first one they announced for 2027 that's really big is the goalposts. So basically, right now they have the goalposts that are right in front of the end zone. Basically, they're just moving it back to the back of the end zone. And a lot of what was talked about in Johnson's press conference was that, um, you know, from a broadcasting standpoint, it's hard to, the BC Lions had a spectacular one-handed interception in one of their games, but the field goal post kind of blocked that. You weren't able to see one of the best catches of all time because you have this stupid goalpost that's standing in the way, and when you're at home, you're not able to see that. And then there's instances where the quarterback could throw it, and before it gets to the end zone, it hits the goalpost and it doesn't connect with the receiver. So again, like honestly, this makes a ton of sense for the league. One, like Johnson said, from a broadcasting perspective, it just looks a lot cleaner. You're going to be able to see everything that's going on the field, so it makes a ton of sense. As well as for the quarterbacks for the passing game, with how important the passing game is in today's age, makes a ton of sense. You try to make it as easy for the quarterback as possible. So honestly, no complaints on that end. They did the league did give some projections on the projected gains of repositioning the goalpost. So they actually will see it. There'll be a 10% more end zone completions, and then 60 more touchdowns per season. Those are, if you're saying there's going to be 60 more touchdowns, that's I mean that sounds like a lot, but I don't know if it's really going to per se affect like the amount of scoring that goes on the CFL. I just think from a logistical standpoint, it just makes more sense, and I think it's a cleaner look on TV. So to me, I feel like it's more of, yeah, and I know there's also like safety issues that come with it as well. Like if a receiver is running across the field and ends up running into the goalpost, or if they make a catch and they hit their shoulder or a head on the goalpost, I know that's also been a concern as well. So, but I mean that could technically happen if they're at the back of the end zone as well. So there's always going to be a risk of that no matter what. But honestly, this just feels like a logistical move more than just, oh, we're actually going to score more points. I don't know if that's going to be the case. I mean, with 3 downs already in the CFL, I feel like that itself helps kind of push the game into higher scoring than what you would see in the NFL. So again, no complaints on my end so far. The goalpost makes 100% sense. So lastly, let's talk about the field, which could be the one that I think triggers the CFL fans the most. They are reducing the field from 110 yards to 100 yards. So this is their explanation of it. To ensure scoring remains high and that the kicking game remains relevant, end zones will be shortened from 20 to 15 yards. The CFL will still have the largest end zone of any form of professional gridiron football. The field will also be shortened from 110 yards to 100 while retaining its distinctive 65-yard width, allowing offenses to start closer to the opposition's end zone. The adjustment also ensures league-wide uniformity of end zone dimensions. So, um, I kind of like the 110 yards, to be honest with you, just because I do think it makes it a little bit unique and it makes it a little bit different from the NFL. But honestly, this is one again that you know, I think this one could be mixed. I can see why CFL fans could be upset by this one because, the end zone and the league, the size of the field is different from what it is in the NFL. It's probably a good thing they didn't change the width of it. I've been hearing a lot online about how the width is probably more important than like the length of the field. So, sounds like the league made the right choice in maybe staying away from changing the width, but instead great move on their part to, I think, shorten the field to 100. I think it makes a lot of sense. I don't think it really does anything for me in any aspect to like make me angry or anything like that. Um, it's an interesting move, but that may create more scoring. I do believe that one actually makes more of an impact on the scoring versus the goalposts. Like I do feel like there's going to be more touchdowns and more scoring drives that come from shortening the field in that aspect. The end zone being changed, I mean, a 5 yard difference obviously doesn't really do much, but the big thing is Johnston said he wants to make all the end zones, all the fields need to be equal. So I know there's some fields in the CFL where there is, I guess, longer end zones than others. So I think to make it all compact and make it the exact same dimensions, that 100% makes sense. And I don't know why the league has allowed that to be a thing all this time to have like one or two end zones be different sizes versus the rest of them. But makes a ton of sense to me to at least change the end zone part of it. I don't think it will have a drastic impact on the game, but it does make it, I guess, more fair for all nine CFL teams. So yeah, I think these were good moves. So overall aspect, look, Stuart Johnson's been in the job for I think 5 months, give or take, and these are impactful moves. I mean, this is a drastic change for CFL fans. I think it's going to be hard for them to kind of swallow some of these changes, but honestly, there could be a lot worse changes. When I first heard of the news on Sunday, I thought it was more about, oh, they're going to change the four downs. The field's going to be exactly the same as the NFL. Like they're going to change everything to make it NFL friendly. But honestly, there's still aspects of this that still keep it Canadian. Like I already know, like if they change the width of the field from 65 to what the NFL is, or change, three downs to four downs, then I know the whole country would riot. Then I could understand that. But there's still a lot of distinctions between the CFL game to the NFL game that I think makes it different enough that viewers can still come in and watch and still be good. So I thought for me the biggest one that needed to be changed was the Rouge rule, and I'm so happy they do. Like I said earlier, you cannot reward kickers for not doing their jobs. I mean, could you imagine kickers just you miss like 50% of your kicks, but you know, you can still get a point from that. Like that doesn't make any sense. Like if you're a kicker, like your job is to make it. If you don't make it, you don't deserve to get a point. So I love that they changed that one. I think that one was the most important. I think goalposts could potentially make an impact as well. I think it's going to look a lot better on the broadcast. So really happy they were able to do that. But I mean, I've seen a lot of people talk about like Johnston making bigger move than Randy Ambrosi did when he was commissioner. Like I feel like that's the kind of impact today. Just the changes that were made by Johnson is something we really haven't seen from the CFL in a very long time. So I think this was a massive first step in getting the league to um, trend in the right direction and kind of modernize what it needs to be. Um, I doubt that this is the end of the changes. My gut feeling is there may be more coming in the future. I just don't see how the league is just going to do this and be done with it. I feel like Johnston looks like a very ambitious guy that's really going to change the flow of how the CFL is. So I would not be surprised whatsoever if there is more rule changes and this and stuff coming in the next few years. I think it might be small things. I don't think he'll change like the three downs or the width of the stadium, but or the width of the field, but I think he will change some other aspects to make the game more exciting. I wouldn't be surprised if he's looking at other leagues, looking at what the UFL is doing, looking at some of the NFL changes, would they ever consider the kickoff? That could be a big one that, the NFL's been tweaking the last couple years, and this year they've seen a dramatic impact on the amount of returns in the game. Does that maybe translate into the CFL game? Does the UFL's, 1 point, 2 point, 3 point conversions end up moving over to the Canadian side? Like there's a lot of other changes that they could still make. But I'm sure at the same time they got to be careful with trying to make sure it stays Canadian, because I know that's very important to the CFL fan base. So honestly, like if I'm a CFL fan today, I would be happy with this. This was a really good moment for the league. I think they've been hearing some of the, tweaks and changes that need to be made, and they made them. And maybe that might be a hard pill to swallow for some CFL fans, but honestly, I wouldn't even get why you were angry. I think this is a great thing. I think it's going to make the game better. And I'm excited to see what the CFL is going to look like in the next couple of years, because I think these are really, really good changes, and I think more is to come. Now, what the league needs to do is try to make sure this pushes for maybe a 10th team. I think expansion would be really nice for once to see, and to have an even number would be great. But I know the other part of this too that I'm interested in diving into is whether the CFL is actually considering trying to make the rules more American, to try to bring an American team into the CFL. I know that's been kind of talked about as well, across social media and across some of these chats that we've been talking about. Like, could this be the CFL's opportunity to maybe show American cities like, hey, we got rules that are, still CFL, but you have the field to make it happen in America. Could they be waiting for a potential you know, UFL failure to see if they can jump in on cities like St. Louis and try to lure them into the CFL? I think that could be an interesting aspect to look at within the next few years when the CFL is talking about expansion and stuff like that. Could they bring an American team into it? Could they bring American cities into it? I know it was I don't know if I call it a colossal disaster in the 90s, but it didn't last very long. So definitely would call it a failure for sure. So does the CFL try to tap into that again and try to go with adding an American or so in there? Maybe. But, I think that's another aspect too to look at with these rules. So I love to hear what you guys thought about this and, all the rule changes going to the CFL. So make sure to like, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you think. Do you like the rules? Do you not like the rules? What else could be changed in the CFL? What else could be coming in the future? So there's a lot to talk about with this, but gotta say, overall, great day today for the CFL. I think this was a really big day for them. So kudos to them. That's it for me. I'll be back with the next episode. I appreciate you guys listening and watching, and I'll see you soon.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.